Hey YouTube, welcome back to UniXTCG, and we are back at home from Bandai Card Fest / Battle Hour. So I wanted to do a comprehensive, breakdown of Nationals. I know a lot of people are doing it, but you know me, I like to put my own twist on things. So I would like to talk about Nationals up at the forefront, how the event went, and then I want to talk about, just the things that made it to the top. And then I also want to talk about how it affects our meta, because a lot of people may or may not be cognizant, but we still have about 6 online events happening between now and the release of OPO 6 Wings the Pirate King. So I do want to talk about all that. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to get into. I do want to say that if you like the content, think about hitting that like button. Let's see if we can get over 150 likes. No, 200 likes for the first post-Nats video. And yeah, if you think you like the content and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Join the UniX fam, join the Discord, whatever. So with that being said, let's actually switch over because I want to go to Eggman events. Shout out to the homie and look at some of the breakdown. All right. So here we are. Like I said, we are on Eggman events, and there's a comprehensive breakdown. So give a shout out to the homie Eggman for doing all this work. I'm gonna scroll down just so you guys can see what's going on here. We had 1,978 players. It's almost 2,000 players. That's the biggest thing. 10 rounds of Swiss that cut into top 64, best 2 out of 3. It's supposed to be 11 rounds, but for people that don't understand, when you have a venue, there are certain times that you're allowed to be in the venue, and the hard cutoff is the hard cutoff. You can get severely penalized if you run over the date. So it's not just the getting the players out, it's getting the players out and then breaking down and securing what you need to. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. I know a lot of people will talk about how the tournament started late, and that's a whole nother topic. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that lots of players just don't consider. For instance, people don't sign into the Best Coast Pairings app, and then they get dropped because they thought it was on TCG Plus, despite getting an email. To get those people back in, you need to hold the entire process and manually put them in, which changes all the data, which changes like repairings. If somebody drops themselves a couple rounds of the tournament and then comes in, you got to do that. So there was a lot of stuff that was a little messy, and I just don't like where all of the blame is necessarily going at this moment. However, moving forward, we have got the leader breakdown and 819 Sakazukis, making it the most represented deck in the room by 2 times. That's crazy. 346 Enels, 269 Katakuris, 203 Purple Luffys, 89 Zoros, 56 White Beards, 43 Monkey D. Luffy, so just the red purple, and then 156 other. So this is actually pretty interesting. When you go over the top 64, right, you're seeing that there's a lot of these same names coming up again. In fact, all of these decks. Okay, so we have one Nami. Shoutouts to Espino, because he has been going on about which decks he wanted to play. He was thinking about Iceberg, but he ended up coming in with Nami, and top 64 is awesome. But outside of him and this other Mr. Allen guy playing Nami, looks like the entire top cut is of 64 was Enel, Pluffy, Sakazuki. That's pretty intense, and some Katakuri. That's very intense. Oh wait, we have a law. We have a law here, a singular law. I wonder what they faced that day. Point being, we're going to go over to the top 32 and we actually see more of the same, except we have 2 new gates thrown in here as well. So that's pretty tight. And then you get to the top 16, looking at exclusively decks that we thought we would see. Newgate peeking up in there along with Zoro is pretty tight. Top 8, Sakazuki, Enel, Sakazuki. You can see this is starting to get narrowed down. And then we have the top 4, Zoro and Pluffy, followed by the top 2, the champion with Enel, and the runner-up Sakazuki. Now, I was there for the Grand Championship Finals match. People that were broadcasting the talent got to sit in the front row, so I got a nice clean seat. So let's go over the top deck list real quick, and then we're going to jump into the ramifications of this, right? So first, I'm going to go on Red Purple Luffy. I was actually very surprised to see this up here because Red Purple Luffy can sometimes suffer momentum losses that make it very hard for it to get off the ground. And if Sakazuki just draws well, Sakazuki often can remove most of the threats this deck puts on board. But what we got here in terms of energy gain, because the whole purpose of this deck is putting out these big high-end threats before your opponent has the dawn to deal with them. A lot of that comes with ramping early. Zoro Juro is a very, very good card. You're swinging with it, you're ramping. Sakazuki, seeing a Hellhound, this is one of the first priorities to get away. You literally have the singular turn it's played before it can swing to get rid of it, and then after that, it's already done its job. You have Jean Bart, and that's just, if you're at 5 Dawn, you can go up to essentially 6 Dawn, which is going to put you at 8 the following turn, which is going to allow you to use your leader effect and go up to 9, and then be able to play things like Whitebeard. So this can literally just turn your turn 5, sorry, your third turn, regardless of whether you're going first or second, turns your third turn into making next turn Whitebeard. So then we have the Gum Gum Gatling, Gum Jet Gatling, so you can use it to, just trash something with no counter power, go up 3. But if it gets triggered, you're going to flip over a Dawn. And then last but not least, you have 4 Thunder Bagua. This is very, very good because you just take 1 damage, and after that, you can use it to defend yourself while ramping. It looks a little ramp light to me, but it clearly worked for this gentleman. You can see there's King here for some removal. You got Rush and Luffy, you got some hand destruction, and Trafalgar Law is going to come into play a lot of decks. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. The one Captain Kid confuses me a little bit, especially with the 3 Luffy, saying you only really need to see Luffy once per game. 2 Diablo Jambe is just easy maths things that you can use it on Monkey D Luffy, or you can use it on 10 drop Monkey D Luffy here. So I really do see how this is cool. I'm glad this person was able to get their way. I kind of feel like it might have been a little bit of a high roll, but you know what, this deck is still very, very fun to play. I just would like to know its matchups. Moving on to Zoro. This is a very, very, very interesting build. This Zoro, of course, you got 4 Makino, 4 Nami, just in different rarities, 4 Magra, 2 Nico Robbins. These guys do get a lot of stuff out of the way, and by a lot of stuff, I mean Rebecca, and they also can clear Mansherries as well, just by, just looking at them. And sometimes the Mansherry guarded can lead to a loop of just cards being gamed. You've also got the Buggy. Buggy picks up extra events. It's very wild because there's only 10 events, and I think that's a little low count for Buggy, but once again, it does what it does. Sanji's a Straw Hat. This is a good replacement for Sunny if you don't feel like paying for it. Everything's pretty standard. You've got 2 Rush Zoro, 3 Rush Luffy, 4 Rush Zoro with different rarities, 3 Rush Luffy. Very, very, very extra heavy on the defense, and that's going to allow you to, while playing under curve, defend yourself without really dropping cards from hand. You're just dropping these. 2 Diablo Jambe, because essentially a red deck needs it out if you're not, unless you're Whitebeard, to punch through defenses. You rush your opponent, you beat them down, and when they're at 0 life and hiding behind blockers, you shotgun behind the Diablo Jambe. The interesting part for me is the Marco. This kind of deck fell out of favor when Sakazuki came out because it's no longer sticky, but it's still great against the non-Sakazuki decks, making it very, very hard to remove outside of Katakuri in most cases. But against Sakazuki, you can just bottom deck it. So I wonder how this kind of played. I would have loved to see some of it if we had a stream, but hey, that's for next Card Fest. Then we've got the second place list, Jackson Wang, and this is pretty standard. 2 Mansherry, 4 Rebecca, 4 brand new, 2 Hina. Most people play 2 or 3. You got the Surus, you got the Shigis, 4 Hinas, 3 Kuzans, up to 4 Borsellino. I like that. Rob Lucci, Sabo at 1. That's kind of spicy. I like it at 2 just to see it more because it's just godly against non-Sakazuki matchups. And then you have the 3 Borsellino. The 1 Kaido, obviously Jackson was expecting to see a lot of mirrors, which is fine, that makes sense. Kaido is a monster in the mirror. It's, by the time you get to play it, both Sakazuki players can be kind of at like mid-level resources or a simplified game state with low resources, and Kaido blows that open, making a boss card that's harder to remove while replenishing your hand and allowing you to remount your point of dominance against your Sakazuki mirror. It's also very good against yellow in general because they can't really interact with it unless they swing on it and dawn to high heavens. 2 Ice Age, yep. 4 Good Eruption, yep. 4 Hound Blaze, yep. All looks good to me. And then we're going to talk about the finals matchup to look at Johan's deck. So Johan is actually opting to use very, very little, if not any, of the Big Mom package, but instead is using the Sky Island package. You've got 2 of this 2K, you got 3 Sure Hoshis instead of 4, which most people play, 3 Brulés just to have a little bit more defense, 4 Shuras for the searching as well as that, 4 Beige, obviously. You get the Ohm Holly package in order to mount some defenses, 3 Sanji for the more blockers coming out, but also higher cost than Brulé, so I can see why there's a split. 4 Satori for more bodies, 4 Gadatsu. I see it putting in work, and I saw that he was very, very smart in his application of it. There were a lot of times where he just was like, yeah, look, I'm just gonna not swing on you because I need this Gadatsu to be live next turn, and I definitely respect that. You've got 4-L, and that is the kicker. I don't know if you guys saw, but when I was building Katakuri, I ended up playing 3-L over 7-drop Big Mom, and I like the aggressiveness, the stickiness of the card, and the ability to press your opponent instead of just letting your opponent choose the best effect for them. So I do agree with this 4-L. I very much so like that. 4 Katakuri, super heavy, but you know it did work. 4 Yamato is mandatory, and just 2 million volts Amaru. You're gonna see that there's not a Thunderbolt in here, and that really does kind of set it off. If you guys were able to peep the game, and if you're not, there is the official link. I can put that in the description. Jackson played around Thunderbolt the entire game. The way he sequenced, the way he made his swings, how he plotted out his removal. He definitely played around Thunderbolt the entirety of the match, only to never see it and realize that maybe his opponent doesn't play, or maybe his opponent just got lucky. Either way, or unlucky, he just had to play around Thunderbolt because Thunderbolt has been a staple at 3, sometimes even 4 for quite some time. And so without playing Thunderbolt in there, that's one less card to have in hand that's kind of dead sometimes, but it's also a trigger that your opponent has to respect even if you don't have it, making it an excellent, like, just full body bluff. And when it came to both of those games, right, for the most part, it was pretty even in game 1. I thought it went back and forth as Enel and Sakazuki tend to do. Sakazuki is an inevitability grinder, while Enel is an inevitability grinder, while Sakazuki is a hard control with the ability to pivot into being more aggressive. But this deck is more aggressive than your average. Maxing out on the Ohm and Holly to have that, maxing on the Enel. This deck is meant to push you while being able to fall back on its leader skill, just keeping it alive. Because of that, I think that Jackson was under pressure a lot. And then there was one game, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2, where he actually discarded a Borsalino. I don't know if he was trying to set up like he ended up setting up more defensive position, but he discarded a Borsalino when he had a chance to get rid of a Yamato, and then a second Yamato was played. And I'm not going to take anything away from this play because Jackson has proven himself to be an amazing player. But if you guys have tested this matchup enough, you know that the moment Sakazuki really starts to lose momentum is when your opponent lands a second body that costs like 7 or higher. When they start stacking multiple bodies that are thick in cost, Sakazuki, generally without the help of like a 10-drop Kuzan, is unable to assess the board correctly, or is unable to correctly handle the board afterwards. You have to use an Ice Age and a Hound Blaze, and then that's already 3 Dawn out. So if you play like Rebecca and Tahina, you don't have another one. You have to have 2 Ice Ages sometimes to get rid of that, but two Ice Ages, 2 Hound Blazes, or 2 Ice Ages and a Hound Blaze and a Rob Lucci. That's still most of your Dawn, and it's very costly. It's 4 cards from hand. So that's just a big thing. And then this is the kind of deck that between Satori, between 200 million volts, between multiples and L's and Ohm and Holly, if you turn your Kuzan sideways, it's likely getting hammered until it's off the field. So this is a very aggressive NL deck list, and I think that the shift in pressure that Jackson may have not been expecting, plus playing around Thunderbolt, plus that one turn where he allowed multiple Yamatos to be stacked up against him and actually cascaded into 3 Yamatos, it might have kind of been the downfall. But with that being said, now that we're looking at this, you guys may know there are 4 Treasure Cups coming up in February, and I believe just as many regionals coming up in March, 3 or 4 regionals. I'm currently on waitlist for the first and last Treasure Cup in February. I'll be playing in the middle 2, and I'll be streaming them here. I also am on waitlist for the regionals because I was engaged that day, and just like I was busy with a work function, and I just wasn't at my computer to do the signups. And you know how One Piece tournaments go. So we are looking at the fact that we will still be in this same format. Now, this is going to be crazy because Sakazuki, I still think, is the best deck. I don't think this is really just look at the representation, look at the conversion rate. I do think that Sakazuki is by far the best deck. I think that while Johan is a good player, I think that his Enel build took him the furthest, but it's also the fact that respecting Thunderbolt and not overseeing it. Respecting Thunderbolt is a momentum shift. You do have to play differently. You have to sequence in less optimal ways. I do think that respecting Thunderbolt, while it wasn't there, did lead to some of the advantage that Johan got. And I also think that I also think that Jonas. I am so sorry, man. I've been pronouncing your name this is wrong the entire time. I think Jonas's sideboard or his lack of Thunderbolts did contribute to the momentum swing, and then also the aggressiveness of his deck. Every game he opened up with Holly in hand and was able to play at home and put it out, which is automatically just rough. Like I said, putting out multiple bodies of Sakazuki can't handle is rough. Late game, it's multiple 7s or highs, but early game, Ohm into Holly is a very aggressive play. Puts a lot of pressure on Sakazuki, and they often that early in the game can't get rid of both of them. So it gets its mileage out there. I think his aggressive deck list plus that were all contributing factors. However, I still do think that Sakazuki is the deck to beat. I do think that because Enel won, a lot more people will be trying Enel, and they will be trying this list. And if you're already an Enel player and you're trying this list, chances are you'll need to pivot a little bit mentally to play a more aggressive deck. Don't fall into your leader ability, just play the push, and then let your leader ability protect your life. So that's kind of how that is. I do see a lot of decks people might be more willing to experiment with Red Purple Luffy. I think that Purple Luffy, I think a lot of people might not have had a great time with Purple Luffy. Purple Luffy has had some matchups. I know people say that it should just wax Enel, but that is not generally the case. Enel has pretty 50-50% matchups across the board. Meanwhile, I do think that Sakazuki should normally dog walk Purple Luffy unless things go wrong with the hand or sequences by the Sakazuki player suboptimal. So going into these next events, I still expect them to be very Sakazuki heavy, and if you are going to play them, you need to know the mirror. That is non-negotiable. You need to know the mirror, and you need to be able to pilot it correctly. There may be some small changes you can add if you feel like you want to play a 10 drop, Kaido being better against the mirror while Kuzan's better against yellow. However, I do think that at the end of the day, you have to know your matchup, your mirror match in and out. And then with Enel, you honestly, it's going to be kind of rough because you won't really know what Enel you're getting until you see it. But there might be some deck changes because literally if everybody starts going into this more aggressive Enel, I'm not sure if everybody will know how to play it, but it will be a different pace for the Sakazuki decks it's facing. So all in all, I do think that we're still going to a format that's going to look very much so like this, with Enel taking a bigger chunk of the wheel, simply because Enel is just it did win. People are going to, that is an opinion swayer. People are going to see that and want to emulate that. So I do think Enel is going to take an increase in popularity, but Sakazuki is probably going to stay half the field just by itself. Katakuri I didn't really see anything too much from, but people will still play Katakuri. People still will play Luffy, but I think Luffy's going to dwindle in stocks. Whitebeard and Zoro made some surprise finishes, and I think the Zoro piloted well enough can still be at the top contender. The issue is that if you face enough yellow, Zoro could be down the hole in terms of best of one, so be careful about that. But yeah, overall, my thoughts, I wasn't surprised at seeing the representation of this, because if you really think about it, it's Sakazuki being half and yellow being a fourth. I expected that. I was surprised that Whitebeard got as many wins as it did, or conversions into top cut. Wasn't really surprised seeing Zoro. I am very much so surprised to see the dude that put Law on his back and got there. 2 Nami is actually pretty fun. Nami is low-key uninteractive, but at the same time, it can be a blast to just be able to use those mechanics and play a different game. So that's pretty tight. But yeah, time will tell. We're going to be moving into the next Treasure Cup in literally less than half a week. Like I said, if you're going to be in there and you are playing Sakazuki, not playing Sakazuki, you need to have your Sakazuki matchup down pat. That will be your key to victory, because you might face 4 or 5 of them in a 9-round event. Same with Enel. I know sometimes Enel just feels like you can't do anything, but there is a mythology to facing Enel. You do have to be careful. There are things you can do that are just even small. Taking the first life so that Gidatsu can't hit your 4 drops. That's important. Getting Enel down to 2 and then holding it. Because if you are just getting Enel down to 2 and they're hitting their Yamato turn, you want to make sure that you can keep them there just to make sure that your opponent doesn't get full value out of the Yamato. So they may destroy something. If you're at 3 life and they're at 4 life or 2 life, they can destroy a 5 drop. And that is cool, but they don't gain a life, which is in a sense denying them a draw, as well as keeping it around the same level of ease. You need to make sure you save your Ice Ages and things like that for these guys. Prioritize your Kuzans. If they're playing this list, the only way they're destroying your Kuzan is by playing Yamato or swinging into it. So you got to make sure that you are okay with saving your Kuzan until you have the correct shot lined up. Playing him and then just swinging without him. Well, swinging without him and then playing him and then swinging without him until he's needed. Because if they're not running Thunderbolt, he can really just sit on there as long as he wants to until Katakuri or Yamato come down. So I'll probably make a follow-up video later this week about the deeper dive into these. I am working on the Patreon articles. It's a little stale because Nationals just happened and the format is the same for another 2 months. So for the most part, we'll work on it. Let me guys know in the comments if you are currently in my Patreon or you would like to be and you just want to have me touch on a certain topic in article form. I will write the heck out of it. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'm going to move on to the Patreon appreciation part of the video, and I will see you guys in the next video. We're doing a double feature today. We're dropping some Fusion World, and I'm just excited to be able to share 2024 with you guys, more content. Much love for Battle, well, I was about to say Battle Hour, Card Game Fest, and Battle Hour. The staff there was amazing. I had an amazing time. I've been putting up on my socials. I'm just so excited to see what this year has for me in terms of being a content creator for TCGs. So thank you guys, and I'll see you later. Bye. Okay, so we are back with the Patreon shout out. I just wanted to thank everybody that goes the extra mile to help this channel, help this brand. Here on the Patreon, we will be doing articles that are a little too long to put on video format for One Piece card game and now Dragon Ball Super Fusion World, and really whatever we plan on here, as well as giveaways. I'm sorry that the past month has been a little dry between getting contracted for Bandai Card Fest. I just had a lot going on, and then there was travel, and then there was all the stuff for the event, and now I am back, so we're about to jump into the full swing of things, so expect more in terms of both articles and giveaways for both games. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys are having a great time, and this is the vocal shout out for the Realm of Xers, the Barars, the Brycears, the Big Daddy Flakjacks. Thank you for going the extra mile, and I will see you all next time.